The final game. It comes all down to this game. We have game number 5 between Polt and Snute. Starting to the top left of Belcher Vestige, we have the Terran player. And starting at the bottom right, we have Liquid Snute. The Zerg player with a comeback. He was down 2 games and then he started his comeback with a Nidus network in his opponent's base on I think Star Station, and then in the last game he equalized the score with a good timing on Daybreak, so Snute now 1 game away of winning the Zotac Cup monthly final. Same is of course true for Polt, so this could be crazy. I mean, if Polt is pulling this off, it's amazing for him, but if Snute does it, then he would have won 3 games in a row after being down in the series. So I'm really excited to see this match now. Snute was successful with timings against his opponent, and I have to... I mean, one of the things that I always have to talk about when you talk about a best of 5 is the momentum that is going for the players. So right now, Snute came back from the point of nearly no return. I mean, we were at the tipping point. He was down 2 games, and it's just putting such an added strain to your performance when you know that every single game that you play right now could be the last one, that you have to play to win so many games in a row to succeed. And he pulled that off. He won the first game, he won the second game. Now Polt is suddenly the one who's with his back at the wall. He has to realize, alright, he is really a force to be reckoned with. I have to do something against this guy. He has the momentum going for him right now, and if I'm not cutting him off immediately in this game and show him who's boss, then I might actually lose this series. So Polt is of course playing exactly the same style that we saw him play so far. Opening with exactly the same build order, the same performance. But what are we going to see from Snute here? Snute was using timings in the last few games, and in in the last game he went into the Roaches again. He was transitioning already into a potential follow-up with Zerglings, adding the +1 melee upgrade for his units, but the timing alone was enough to take down Polt. And for him, we will see the same build too. He's most likely going to go into 4 Queens again, dropping the gas at 520, going into the lair tech once that he has his 100 gas up. It makes him a little bit predictable, but it's also a build that he is very comfortable with. You can really see that in his play so far. So I would be surprised if he doesn't go for it. And speaking about things that a player doesn't go for, we see Polt going now for the Reaper once again, but he adds a few Marines here. He will soon at the factory. He has the gas already, and then the reactor at his own barracks. Now we're going into this dance with the with the Reaper and the Zerglings once again. It's faded. It's like the Wheel of Time. Currently reading the series. And even though I have to say that I've definitely read better fantasy, it can be entertaining at times. And the one theme that goes through the entire book is always this crap about everything being faded. The wheel weaves as the wheel will. Probably the most annoying sentence in the entire fucking series. But it's one of those things that is also just synonymous for what we've seen between Snute and Polt. This dance between the Reaper and the Zerglings every single time that we start into this game. The Reaper loses it this time, so the Dark One not successful here. The Zerglings and the drones this time prevail. The Light has won, and let's head now into the main part of the game where we have the transition. The command center much earlier this time for Polt, and also on the high ground. For Snute we have now the double gas being taken at the normal timing that we expected. So this is where slowly and steadily everything will unfold. Looking into the build that we have for Polt, we have an adjustment that is just credited to what we've seen in the last 2 games. He's going into siege tanks, and he might not fully commit to this. 1 or 2 siege tanks on the high ground are already doing a great job against any kind of roach aggression. So that is all that he needs, and it's a small adjustment, but it's such an important one. It's something that Flash and Innovation have been doing against Zerg players that are known to go into roach aggression, and it shuts down a Zerg player right away. So this is one of those things where Snute will run against the wall if he tries to go for the same build again. He drops the hatch here. We have him with a 3rd base once again. Now he should start with a lair any second. You will most likely see it in just a few. He already has the gas that he needs, and there is the lair tech. Now very soon we should see double evolution chamber. Here it is, 1, 2, and the roach warren probably right over here. Would be surprised to not see it. But for now, we don't have Hellion pressure. And that's something that Snute realized. So, talking a little bit about the differences, how we come into this game. Why did we have those Hellions? Because we didn't have siege tanks. This time we have a siege tank in the game, and the siege tank alone gives Polt so much more defense. But he has the Hellions much later in the match, and therefore he cannot control the creep as well as he did in the last few games. So he is giving up a bit of map control to get the additional safety in the space. These are all trade-offs, guys. This is not something where you look like at the game and you're like, oh my god, what an idiot. Why didn't he build a siege tank? This guy is such a noob. No, he's not. He's just playing a different style. He wants to pressure the opponent and force the creep back. And now he can't do it. He cannot do it because he doesn't have the Hellion presence on the map. And this is the one thing that Polt loves to do. He wants to dominate the opponent in the early game. He wants to get the Reaper in early. He wants to get the Hellions out there, control the creep spread, and try to make sure that his opponent's macro is not getting out of hand. And this time he cannot really do it. Pretty sneaky to walk the Widowmine to the bottom left, by the way. But Polt has to make it. He has to do this because Snute was getting so aggressive that he said, like, I really don't want to, but I have to build siege tanks. I cannot do anything else. I have to get it. He could have tried to get those Hellions out earlier and then gone into siege tank play. That would also have worked. But for now, we have just the Roach one again, +1/+1 upgrades. We have speed for the Overlords. We see a metabolic boost, also speed upgrade for the Roaches, and a base to the left side of the map. So going into a massive amount of tech right now, and also, especially since we have the infestation bit once again, it seems like he wants to go into Hive once more. But we also have him going into the 4th base, so he wants to go into the macro game. He's not going to hit a timing here this time. And he realizes, of course, that there are no Hellions. And he's like, okay, why are there no Hellions? Of course, because you are using the time that you have in your factory for something else. What else could there be? Tanks, Widowmines. So my aggression wouldn't do this much damage. So right now we have him still trying to scout what's going on. He has the Overlord speed. This will give him great opportunities to scout his opponent. 1-1 is already done. Baneling Nest is ready. Speed upgrade should follow soon. Pathogen Glance coming in. Siege tank count for Polt is at 3, and he is now getting his armor upgrade out. But the creep spread is a lot better for Snute in this game. It could be better. It's not perfect. It's not where you would like to have it. If you would criticize anything about the mechanics of Snute, you would probably criticize that his creep spread is okay, but it's not good. Like he doesn't excel at it. He could hit those timings a little bit better. Could talk maybe a bit to TLO, one of his fellow teammates, to talk with this. But it's a really interesting shift in the mindset of those two players that we have. Polt is completely forgoing the Widowmine play as well. He's going into the siege tanks and he's going into the medivacs right now. He could still make a bit of a switch, but for now we still have the factory at the tech lab. And he is defending against the Roaches here at the front. A little bit of a poke here by Snute, that's it. Not more than that. It's only a bit of a poke. 1-1 is done for both players. Both are heading into +2/+2. Upgrades are decent, but the Hive tech is on its way. And even though we don't have a lot of aggression in the early game, this is so exciting to see how they adapt to what happened in the series. And this is what is so awesome about a best of 5 series compared to a best of 1 or compared to a best of 3. With a best of 1, you can just get leverage by observing your opponent's style, by analyzing games and then go for a KO build. But in a best of 5, you have to make a few decisions on the fly. You can prepare to a certain extent, but at some point you just have to adjust what your opponent is showing you. And this is what both players are showing us in this 5th game, and it's really epic. I really like it. We have now Polt moving out with his force, and he's going in with the siege tanks. He's trying to hit with +2/+2 here. The problem for him being that Snute has also a strong army. The army supply is fairly similar here, or it will be once that Polt is moving in. Right now, Polt has a bit of a lead, but of course Snute realizes what's going on, and he will also be over +2/+2, and he has shown against Cass and against Polt in the past that he likes to go for run-bys. Ah! He's hitting those banelings like a boss, but not as perfect as he wanted to. Took down a fair amount of Marines. Harvesters killed so far by Snute, 11 at the bottom left. We have now more units going down, especially the infestors, saving Snute's ass here. Resources lost, roughly the same overall supply currently in favor of Snute. Adrenal glands soon to be done, +3 armor already being started, and Polt now in a position where he has to be very cautious about how he approaches the next few minutes. He does not start +3/+3, definitely an oversight. He should do that, but he doesn't have the bank. This is his biggest problem. He's lacking minerals, he's lacking a lot of them. +3/+3 will be done so much faster for Snute here, and this gives him an edge and a timing. He's trying to go into another attack, but here comes Polt with the stim up the ramp. The Banelings aren't ready yet. The Banelings are not ready yet, and the Zerglings, they are melting away. He has to even cancel the Banelings. Another base being built at the right side of the map, but the drop is already there, and Polt is stimming in and taking down this hatch. Has to be cancelled. A last minute cancel, last second cancel here by Snute, and now with the 20 supply lead, Snute has to make sure that he has the lava later on. He needs a macro hatch. I'm a little bit surprised that he doesn't have one. He hits his... Oh, there he is. Okay, we have the macro hatch, and he's doing a decent job with his injects so far. He needs them. He definitely will need them. But he also has the Ultralist now being produced. Chitinous plating is coming up, even producing now creep tumors in the main base to make sure that he has creep everywhere. Triple spine crawler defending the space, and Snute is playing a great game here. Very defensive, very cautious, not hitting the injects perfectly, but they are good enough. He's moving in once again. He has the infestors there. The Ultralisk at the front baiting a lot of damage out. The Marines are being microed by Polt, and he's losing a lot of his units here. 20 supply lead currently for Snute, who's about to complete his chitinous plating. Also, Polt heading into +3/+3, but the Terran player is losing ground. And he's losing it fast. Snute might be able to pull this off. He might actually be able to win 3 games in a row to take the Zotac Cup monthly final, but we are not there just yet. Another drop moving in for the Terran player, and the Queen is the only thing that stands between the Terran forces and the, well, I wanted to say the drones, but the Zerglings, they move out, and they make sure that the drop has to retreat for now. Creep spread is okay for Snute at this point. He has a lot of creep at the right side of the map. He sees the movements of his opponent. High ground vision would allow him to spread the creep even faster. The Medivac at the bottom didn't do too much damage. Drilling claws are nearly ready, and 5 Widow Mines are being produced at a time. Time of the siege tanks is over. Polt wants to be mobile. He wants to be aggressive. He wants Widow Mines. He had good success with them in the first 2 games, and he wants to rely upon them once again. We have him with 70 Harvesters against 84. 9 Ultralisks already on the map, and as soon as we have good fungals for the Zerg player, the Ultralisks are going to town with their Kaiser plates and taking everything apart here. +3/+3 is done, but the timing window is very small. He's trying to hit it, but the problem really that Polt did not lose too much time going into +3/+3. Here we go. We have the 3/3 about to be done, and then the Terran player will have really good upgrades. A few roaches being donated, wants to free up supply here. Upgrade count, as you can see, pretty epic. Both of them on 3/3, heavily upgraded. Ultralisk a little bit out of position, not quite sure what they were trying to accomplish over here, but they are being chased down, and this is very unfortunate for Snute. He's losing 2 Ultralisks, but he's moving in with the rest of the army, and a great fungal here. Really good position this time. The problem for him really being that Snute is getting a lot of hits here. Polt is doing a great job now, but the bank for Snute is exceptional. His problem is the lava. His injects are really not good in this game. He's starting to inject now once again, but he lacks a queen over here. He has another one that doesn't do too much over there. 3 queens in total, and they don't do the best job with the injects. He needs a few more. He should actually build a queen at this point, or at least send one of them over to just inject this hatch. That is something where he's really struggling a little bit. From the looks of it, the inject method that he's using here is just jumping to the hatches and then selecting them. That's something that a lot of the Korean players do as well, using the keys that they have, the location keys. And the bank for Snute is just so much better, but if he doesn't have the lava that he needs to back this up, then it doesn't help him. 20 lava are not enough. He's trying to go to the right side, saving the space. The double drop is moving in here, but this is only a distraction. Polt is using it as a very positional play. He has the big army over here to the left side of the map. 130 supply, army supply that is, against 100, and this time he doesn't bother about the spine crawler. He has another drop here at the bottom, but once again not sending it in. The Queen not doing anything, is not actually like using those injects, and this is a lot of damage done. We have a bit of a base race scenario here as the Terran player is being attacked. To the top right we have the Ultralisk just barreling down on all those command centers and also the starports, while the rest of the units are trying to get access to the main base. The Banelings at the front, but we have Marines and Marauders trying to guard the choke point, and of course the Terran player, they're fungals! Jesus! He's losing so much. Both of them actually do. Even infested Terrans are now being used to bait out the Widow Mine shots. In the main base we still have the drop going strong, taking down the Hive Tech, but the Terran player is also defending his choke point. It's just something where the Zerg is losing, he's losing his production. This is the bigger issue, losing the production, but for now he can still rely on the Ultralisks and the Roaches. So this is a very interesting position, to be quite frank with you. 19,000 resources lost against 24,000. Snute with a massive supply lead, but he lost most of his tech. He lost most of his tech already, and Polt is more mobile. But can Polt stop this army? Polt is now in a position where he is setting up his minefield. At least he should. He doesn't. How many does he have? There are only 7 left. That's less than I thought. He's trying to run past here, but this space, this changes everything for Polt. This space is, this is so important. This is the most important thing right now for Snute. And maybe those two Zerglings that are taking apart the entire economy of Polt without the Terran player actually realizing what's going on. I mean, one of the Zerglings has 3 kills, the other one, I think we can chance here. Snute killed 62 workers, which also means that the army supply here is, at this point, still fairly even. Even though we have his 50 supply lead for Snute. It's a massive amount of Ultralisks. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is so many Ultralisks. 13 in total. A base to the right side. He's trying to just mine here as much as possible, and Snute doesn't know it. Snute does not know what's happening here. He's moving in, but a nice spread here on all those units, and this is like the perfect concave. You can't have a better concave than this, but the Protoss, the Zerg player, just has so much. It's such a massive army. I mean, this is like there's a swarm without... This is the swarm, guys. There is no end to this stream of units. At the bottom left, though, this drop could change the course of the game. Snute still has a 60 supply lead, but him going up this ramp is just something that is not gonna happen easily. And he still has mining, Polt that is, with all those mules at the right side. And with the army being present on the middle of the map, the drop is going to do so much damage. And it's actually a really smart move that Polt is now going into Banshees, because there's not a lot of anti-air. And the anti-air lacking is also one of the reasons why these dropships can always just move out. But nice, that was smart. Going straight for the fungal here, adding the second fungal, that's the only thing that he can do. 1 Corruptor, he's losing the first dropship, but he could take down a few units with a drop in the main base. A lift at the orbital to the right side, and this limits Polt's income significantly. The drop is strong here, but still a 80 supply lead for Snute, and it really looks like Snute might be able to pull this off. With the 3 wins in a row, he would be the Zotac Cup champion, the monthly champion here, and this is just incredible play. 5 additional Ultralisks are being built. The Ultralisk cavern with a last attempt here in the game. There's just too many Marines on the high ground. The transfuse! But yeah, in the end, it's not gonna matter. The Baneliness is also gonna fall. Snute is... the only duty that Snute has now is taking down the mining bases of Polt. The army supply is in his favor, 140 against 107, and the income of Polt is basically non-existent when you compare it with Snute's income. The base that Snute was able to save earlier on the right side of the map, this is winning him the game. This is the base that wins him the game, the base that is still mining for him. Polt is trying to be a pain in the ass now with his jobs, and he's certainly succeeding, but with the Corruptors now in the game, we have something that the Zerg player can use to take down the Medivacs. What a great game here. Really, really worthy of finishing this series. 10 SCVs against 48 drones, and of course the extra mules. What is Polt going to do? He has a few Banshees, but they are not going to be enough. The first fungal is hitting home. The Banshees targeting down the Infestors right now, but the Ultralisks, they are pushing everything back. The Kaiser Blades are ripping through the lines of the Terran. He has the last defense. Polt is trying, he's trying hard, but trying is not enough. Snute is rewarded for his resilience in this series and for his effort. He is taking the 3rd game in a row. He is the new Zotac Cup monthly champion. Polt, after a 2-0 lead in the best of 5 series, is losing the best of 5 with 3-2. Incredible performance here by Snute. He never gave up. He always was fighting. He never surrendered. And he is being rewarded for it. He streams with his units into his opponent's main base, and Polt has at some point to realize that this game is over. He has to GG here. There is no other way. He's down to 27 army supply against 121, and there it is. GG, and Snute takes the best of 5 series. He takes the game of Belcher Vestige. He is the new Zotac Cup monthly champion.